Hey gardening friends, welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new here, thank you so much for stopping by. So I just finished planning out what varieties of peppers I'm going to plant out in the garden next year. Thought I would turn on the camera and share the plan with you in terms of what varieties I grew this year in 2025 and then what I'm planning to grow for 2026. I'm going to be starting them all from seed. So we'll also talk about when I typically start my seeds and all that good stuff. So if this is something that you're interested in, then please keep watching. All right, so let's start with what I grew in 2025. I grew a total of 8 different varieties of peppers. It's a mix of sweet peppers and hot peppers. And those varieties are a fish pepper. And this is what the fish pepper packet looks like. So this is from Baker Creek. And I purchased this in 2023, I believe. Yeah, 2023. So grew this one. I also did a banana pepper. This is also from Baker Creek. And then I did a California Wonder pepper, which is a bell pepper. This came from a company called Seeds and Such. I have a note on here to myself, low germination rate. I bought these seeds in 2020, so they are very old. And so that's hence why there is, they have a low germination rate, which is fine. You can still use seeds that are several years old. You just may have to sow more seeds than you normally would to ensure that some successful germination, because low germination, what that means is that if you plant 4 seeds, maybe only 1 will germinate, right? So then you have to make sure you compensate for that when you are sowing your seeds. So I will still use these even though they are really old. I just plan to sow more seeds than I normally would. So instead of starting maybe 2 or 3 or 4, I'm going to double that or maybe triple it to make sure that I get at least a couple good starts. So the other peppers include a sweet bell pepper blend, and this is purchased from Botanical Interest, and it looks like it has a 2024 date, so I must have purchased this in 2024. And then I have 2 other varieties from Baker Creek. This Ozark Giant Pepper, which is it's a mild red pepper, and a Cubanelle pepper, which is somewhat on the spicy side. It grows about 6 to 8 inches in length. Again, another one from Baker Creek. And then I have 2 peppers that I purchased from Seeds and Such a few years ago. This one is called Hybrid Pepper Goliath Sweet Orange. So it's a sweet orange bell pepper. And then the other and the last one is a cayenne long pepper. And this was purchased in 2020. So I have a couple that I purchased over 4 years ago, and then a few that I purchased more recently. So those are the 2025 varieties. So for 2026, or the upcoming season, I'm going to be starting 10 different varieties of peppers. And that includes the fish pepper. I'm going to be growing this again because I like to use this for making hot sauce. And then I'm also going to be starting more California Wonder sweet peppers. I'm going to use 2 different or seeds from 2 different companies this year. One will be from the Seeds and Such, which was from 2020. And then I have a packet of Burpee California Wonder pepper seeds that I purchased in 2023. And I'm going to use this to experiment to see if I have different success with germination based on the age of the seeds. So it's going to be a little bit of an experiment that I'm going to do. Maybe I'll go into more detail about that in a future video. So we'll see. The next one is the pepper, the giant Ozark pepper, which is another is a kind of a sweet bell pepper. And then I'm going to also be doing some red orange bell peppers that I bought from the grocery store a couple years ago, 2023. Believe it or not, I actually have pretty good success with store-bought peppers. I didn't plant it last year, but I planted it the year before and it germinated pretty well. It grew into a nice, big, beautiful, healthy plant. And then I'm going to also grow an Anaheim chili pepper. So this is a spicy pepper that I can use for roasting and for also making hot sauce and for cooking other dishes. And then I've got a jalapeno pepper. It's called early jalapeno. And I think because it tends to produce an abundance of peppers a little bit earlier than your traditional jalapeno pepper. And this is from Seeds and Such. And then a hybrid Goliath sweet orange pepper. And then a new one that I've never grown before. This is called Sheep Nose Pimento. And I purchased this from Baker Creek in 2023. Based on the back of the seed packet. So never have grown this before. It says that it's great for northern climates, and I do live in a northern climate, so I'm going to give it a try and see how much success I have growing this one. So in addition to those varieties that I just mentioned, there's two other varieties. So I think I just showed you 8 varieties of peppers. So the other 2 that I'm going to be growing, the Cayenne Long, which I grew in 2025, and then another jalapeno pepper called a Potapeño. This is supposed to be like a smaller, bushier variety of a jalapeno. And I am particularly growing these and going to be planting these in my planters that I have on my backyard deck, as opposed to planting them out in the garden. So I like these varieties for planters because they don't get very tall. They don't require a ton of space. For all the varieties of peppers that I just showed you, my plan is to start them from seed. And I typically start my peppers about 12 weeks out from my last spring frost. My last spring frost is anticipated for April 17th. I usually add an additional 2 weeks to that just to give myself a little bit of a cushion in case, we have a late frost. So the earliest I could start planting things out based on that would be May 1st. So if I plan to start the pepper plants about 12 weeks before that date, my plan would be to get those started from seed no later than February 6th. That would be around 12 weeks before my last spring frost. So that is the plan, which is not that far away, considering we're already in December. So, of course, I plan to start them indoors because I am in a northern climate. In February, it's still pretty cold here, and we might even have snow still. So the plan is for me to start them indoors in my seed starting area. So I'll start them, the way that I typically do. Maybe when we get closer to that point, I will bring you along or show you kind of how I go about doing that. So I know for some, it may seem like a lot in terms of all the different varieties, 10 varieties, maybe some would consider that to be a lot of peppers. But for me, it's not too much. 8 of the 10 varieties are going to be planted out in my raised garden bed that I have reserved for my peppers that grow to a pretty big size. It's a raised garden bed. It's about 4 by 3 feet, so about 12 square feet. So typically, if you follow the square foot planting method, you can plant 1 pepper plant per square foot. So, theoretically, I should be able to fit at least 12 in this space. I will likely plant more than 12 plants in that garden bed because I prefer to pack my peppers close together or plant them close together. I follow more of a dense planting method because I want to maximize my space and get the biggest yield that I can get for my plants. I don't have any issues with my peppers producing, even with them being planted a little bit closer together than the more conventional method. So I can, based on the square foot method, I can fit at least 12, but I will likely plant a few more than that. So maybe around 15 or 16 in that garden bed. So That is the plan. So again, I will bring you back when I get ready to start those up in February, show you what that all looks like. I hope you enjoyed the video today, and I hope to see you back here soon. Until next time, friends, take care.